Welcome to Handloader. This is your quick start guide to get you on the basics of how to use this mod. So starting off here in the spawn menu, you will find all Handloader related entities under the Entities tab in the Handloader category. Also, in the sandbox menu, you will find the options for both admin and client options under the Options tab in the sandbox menu. There are many options for the server and for the client. You will also find the recipe manager in the admin options tab that will allow you to change and create recipes as well as view them and remove them. Alright, so let's get started. So first we're going to start by spawning the main entity, which is the reloading bench. This is of course what you're going to be using throughout the entire thing here. And then you have your resources. There is 4 resources for Handloader. You have your slugs, your primers, your brass, and your powder. So to load any resources into the bench, you simply spawn it and drop it on the bench. And if the setting is enabled, they will appear physically on the bench. So I'm just going to spawn a few things that we're going to need here. We're going to make some pistol ammo. Pistol slugs, we're going to do blue powder. And we need pistol brass. So as you can see, everything is loaded up, showing up on here. So you're going to walk up to the bench and you're going to press E on it. Throughout Handloader, you're going to have little pop-ups that will show up and kind of give you basic tutorials on things as you go through, just in case you forget anything that was in this video. We're going to clear them out as we go along here. So first things to note here on Handloader's UI. We have 2 buttons up in the corner titled Resource and Manual. Manual is, think of it as your crafting recipe book. It will tell you all the ammo types that are in the server. You can either browse by using your arrow keys up here and then hit TOC to return back to the table of contents. Or if you see one that you want to go to specifically, you can hit buckshot or pistol is what we're going to be doing. So this will tell you everything that you need, what type of brass, what type of slug, what type of primer, and what type of powder, and the amount of powder that needs to be loaded into the shell. So we're going to close that for now. Resources is going to show you what you currently have loaded into the bench, and then what crafted ammo the bench currently stores. We'll come back to that window. And then at the bottom, we have our 3 stations, the loading tray, the powder scale, and the loading press. Above that, we have the tray index. This is where all of the shells will show up. We'll also come back to that in a moment. Let's start off with the loading tray. This is where we'll load the specific brass that we want into the tray. So I'm going to click choose and select the brass that I want. And we're going to load, let's say, 10 shells in. So you can click all the way up, or you can hit shift for increment by 5, or control for increment by 10. But we're just going to do, we're just going to do 10 for now. And we're going to hit add. And as you can see, 10 shells have appeared. Let's go back to the tray index. So if we look at the tray index here, we can see that there are now 10 buttons individually on here. By default, the setting is set to select shells as they're added to the tray, but you can change it to where you select them manually. You can mass unselect by hitting unselect, or mass select by hitting select. You can also individually unselect shells. Any shells that are not selected will not be loaded with powder at the powder scale. You can also remove the shells by hitting delete. Let's go ahead and add those shells back in. So now that we're done with the loading tray, let's go to powder scale. So there's a few different things we can show here. Let me throw another thing of powder on here real quick. So on the powder loader, we can change our powder You can go purple, blue, whatever powder you have, and it will show up here whatever powder you have selected. And then you can change your load amount by clicking the plus and minus buttons. The same things apply: shift increments, control increments, making everything a little easier for you. But a cool thing is if we go over here, well, let's change that real quick. If we go over here to the manual and say, you can see that we need blue powder at 18 count. Well, you can just click on that and it will change the powder type automatically, and it will select the amount of powder that you need. So let's close that. Now, looking at our tray index, we can see everything selected. Just to demonstrate something here, I'm going to unselect 2 shells. We're going to hit load powder. As you can see here, the number has changed to the quantity of powder you have in your bench currently. So let's go over to the loading press. So here's the menu that will show you what you can craft in your current bench with what's loaded in your shells and what slugs and primers that you have. You can see right here there's a yellow message that tells us some shells can't be loaded currently, and it should tell you why that can't happen. So we can see 2 out of the 10 pieces of brass have no powder loaded. If we were to hit load, you can see by the highlighting all the shells that would be loaded and the unhighlighted shells that would not be loaded. So let's go back to the powder scale and fix our issue. Oops. We're going to unselect everybody. We're going to select 5 and 6 again and load the powder. Now if we come back over here to the loading tray, it says all shells can be loaded. So let's load them. Perfect. So now that we have ammo loaded, let's go back to that resource menu. We can click ammo and we can see pistol ammo. We have 10 of it. So let's dispense 10. Coming out of the bench, we see that we have a box that's marked 10 pistol. We can click that, and now we have 10 more ammo. But what about the other stuff in the resources menu? Say you need to give some of your resources to a friend. We can take purple powder, and let's give them half of it because we're feeling generous. Let's exit. As you can see here, it spawned on the ground, and it has a little sticky note to tell you what type of powder it is and how much it currently contains. If you did it on accident, no worries. You can just drop it back on the bench. Now, one other feature of the bench too, say, you accidentally remove it. Well, if the server has the setting enabled, it will spawn a box that'll have your resources in it. And then you just press E on it to dispense them individually. And see, it still does the same sticky note thing. Or we can spawn a bench again, put stuff on it individually, or you can set the box on top of it, and it will auto-load everything into the bench. Perfect. There's other little details to discover and explore in Handloader, but I figured giving a little rundown of what to do would be helpful.